I'm sure that we've all been in the situation where you've been staring at a blank sheet of paper for 20 minutes and you can't seem to find anything to draw in your head. I want to share some tips on how to overcome art block, especially when you have no inspiration and the ideas just aren't flowing. Tip number 1 is use a random idea generator. Now, you can use one online, or I'll show you in a few minutes, you can use a paper version, but there are so many websites that can give you so many helpful creation ideas in so many different categories, such as character or environment or objects or creatures that you can create, and they are so helpful. Now, maybe this starts to get your inspiration flowing, but just in case it doesn't, you could use different websites and combine the ideas that you found into making one giant painting or drawing or whatever you specialize in. And now let's talk about how to create a manual version. So all you need is a blank sheet of paper, a pen and a jar or a glass or anything you have on hand. Now what you need to do is write any ideas that come to your head, no matter how crazy they are. So some ideas that I wrote down on my list were fast food, my dream office, my dream house design. You could even do scene ideas, foods. There are so many different options. Just write any ideas that come to your head and cut them up and fold them really small so you can't see what they are. Put them in the jar and then shuffle the jar up and choose an option out of the selection that you've got without looking, and hopefully you'll have an idea on what to base your drawings on. The option that I picked was beach scene, so I just started drawing the horizon with a beach towel and a drink. So tip number 2 is to try a new art medium. So this doesn't mean that you have to necessarily go out and buy really expensive paints or buy really expensive things. Just find something different in your collection. Now here I'm doing some watercolour painting, but that doesn't mean that you have to paint. So for instance, if you usually work in either graphite pencil or coloured pencils, maybe you could try doing a drawing or a piece of art in pen. Or if you usually work in paints, maybe you can try doing a drawing in pencils, and there are so many different options that you can use. Another one that I tried recently was glass painting. So I bought these acrylic pens and I doodled some flowers over them, and that was just a different way to spice up my art routine. Tip number 3 is to just try doodling. Now, even though you might find this really difficult, it's always good to just have a random doodle session and you might find that you actually enjoy yourself. So grab a blank sheet of paper, a pencil or a pen, and just start doodling. So as you can see, the kind of doodles that I created were not some elite level of art, and they weren't, taking up the whole sheet of paper. So just have fun. Tip number 4 is to use a colour generator website. Now, this, maybe you've already got an idea from the last couple of suggestions that I've given you, but maybe you need a colour palette. Now, sometimes these can be the hardest things to find in a piece of art, but don't worry, there are so many websites out there that can help you to come up with a colour palette. And if you don't have access to the internet or you don't want to use a website, you can always create a manual colour generator, which means that what you can do is you can get a selection of pens and put them in a pot similar to the jar that we had earlier. and they don't have to be, maybe they're colours that you really like or colours that you've never worked with before, and you combine them and you put them in a pot, and then you choose 4 or 5 different colours out of them. So close your eyes and then pick 4 different pens out of that selection, and you've got a colour palette. And if you don't like them, you might be able to change, but I'm not sure if that's against the rules or not. So as you can see from the colours that I got generated on the website that I used, I chose the 4 closest pens that I had to the colours that had been chosen. And I decided to make these different coloured blobs. Now you'll see in a minute that I actually create a very interesting piece of artwork from these blobs. Believe me when I say I had no idea what I was doing with these. But I had lots of fun making this piece of art, and what I decided to do was I decided to turn these blobs into little animals. So like one of them's a slug, the other one's a cat and a turtle, and I just had so much fun creating this piece of art. And that is the most important tip of all, is to always have fun creating art. It should never be a burden or something that you feel like you have to do. Just have fun creating, and maybe sometimes what you need is a little break. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and also subscribe to my channel on here, where I do weekly videos about bullet journaling and art. Bye!